What's up, everybody? Matt Malatesta, Jack Pasquale. We are in the VYPE podcast room. We are talking football again. Great week 2. We'll talk about week 2. We'll talk about star players. We'll talk about upcoming games, some trends, what's happening. Thursday night, we did a TV game on the VYPE Thursday Night Showdown on Space City Network. Ridgepoint played Fulshire. Fulshire moves up from 5A to 6A. Fulshire is real. And Ridgepoint is really, really good also. I love Austin Carlisle, the quarterback there, and what they do. But man, when you play Fulshire, you better be ready to be physical because they run the ball down your throat over and over and over again. And they have one of the coolest looking dudes in the city of Houston, Fabio. What's his name?
Zane Smith.
Zane Smith. Fabio. Hair is flowing. He's got like the shirt coming out. And he is untackable. Tackleable. He's a beast and is a great blocker. But Coach Kadudi over there brings a serious swag. What do they call it? The Dirty F. Okay. That's their brand, right? The Dirty F. But they're really good. So now, Fulshire moves up in our rankings. Of course, North Shore's number 1. Number 2 is
Summer Creek.
Summer Creek. Bro, killing people. They, in 2 games, they've won. They outscored their opponents 94-0. 94-0. They beat Shadow Creek, A, and then B, they played somebody this week, which was Lamar, traditional HISD power. 94-0 in 2 games and 2 teams that are really, really good. Kudos to Summer Creek. They are my hot team. They're hot. North Shore's hot. Summer Creek's on another level right now. Okay. Talk about the week that was.
Yeah, I think another game that we're looking at, especially on Friday night, was that Atascosa and Katy game. Last year, Atascosa was able to pull out the win at their place. Now they went to Katy. Katy maybe a revenge game. Get to see kind of what Katy has this year. But Atascosa really put it to Katy. The final score was 41-24. Dominant game by Carday Mack and Torrey Blaylock in the backfield. Carday Mack, I believe, was 11 for 18 passing with 245 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also had 100 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Torrey Blaylock also had a few scores. You look at this Atascosa team and what they're doing right now. They're doing it on the ground. They're doing it through the air. Defensively, they're able to make stops. This is a really good Atascosa team that we should be talking about more. I think that, you look at that district with North Shore, Summer Creek, Atascosa, it's going to be a gauntlet once that district starts play. So I really like what I saw from that Atascosa team in week 2. They really showed a lot. They moved up in our rankings this week, so I'm excited to see what they do going forward.
Hot take. Are you ready? Is the Katy dynasty over? And that's bold because, look, I love what Katy has done over the past, let's call it 40 years. But when you open schools over and over, May Creek, Cinco, 7, Tompkins, Morton, Katy, Jordan. I think they have another school coming too. I mean, Katy has been the face of Houston area high school football, but is that changing because of the fact that the growth in Katy is so great and they're chopping that area up so much? Because you also have Fulshire right down the street as well. That's right down the street. So, man, I love with Gary Joseph is one of the all-timer coaches. But he's kind of battling, playing with hands tied behind his back because he's losing kids because of the district's, not new alignment, but, how the boundaries are built and just how many new schools there are in Katy. That's my take of the day. What else do you think? Do you think that's a problem? Because you also see it in Fort Bend. Fort Bend has 12 schools in Fort Bend. We talk about this all the time. If Fort Bend had 6 schools, they would have some serious teams that were in the state conversation. And we can talk about this later, but that's kind of the Dallas, Duncanville, DeSoto, South Oak Cliff model. But is it taking down one of the greatest teams in the state of Texas in the Katy Tigers?
Yeah, I I think I look at
You weren't
this
prepared
Katy
for that.
team. I wasn't necessarily prepared for that, but you look at this Katy team, and slowly, since I believe the year that they had Bobby Taylor and Malik Silla, that was about 2021. They were a solid team, dominant team, but then they ran into the Westlake in the state in the regional final or state semifinal, and they kind of got exposed with offense and not being able to score a bunch of points. But now with the opening of Jordan, opening of other schools, you're seeing a lot of those kids who would be Katy Tigers go to these other schools. And not to say Katy still isn't Katy. They still do their thing. They run the ball. They'll get into close games, and they'll be able to rely on their run game. But when you run into a team like Atascosa who's able to score like that, it's hard for them to get back into a game. I think times are catching up with Katy, and I think that the opening of new schools is you're starting to already see the decline, especially in the regular season. So we'll see what happens when district play is here. I think that they'll still do good things in district, and they'll probably, I would put them up there to win the district, but I think that you're starting to see a decline of the Katy Tigers.
Yeah, they don't care about district titles. They care about state titles. So we'll talk about that. We'll see how this storyline progresses. It's gonna be really cool to see. Ridgepoint, still really good. I think what I do love is they play Bridgeland this week. So that's another physical team. Bridgeland we haven't talked a lot about. They're in our top 5. I think they're 3. And they're very physical up front. Lonnie Madison does a good job with what he's given, which is a lot of really good bigs, offensive linemen. So that's going to be another really good battle this week. But if you had to say, who were your favorite players of the week?
Cardi Mack, I just mentioned.
He's hot right now.
His stat
He's
line,
hot.
245 yards passing, 3
Return
touchdowns.
of the Mac.
For real.
Gang.
He, last year he really blew up on the scene as a running back. He was the backup quarterback last year. Obviously, they had Zion Brown, so they didn't really have a need there. This year, they needed a quarterback to step up. Carday's there, and he's putting up numbers on the ground. He's putting up numbers in the air. He had 4 total touchdowns, over 300 yards of total offense. Torrey Blaylock's doing his thing, the Oklahoma commit. Cardi Mack is an X factor for this Atascosa team with what he can do offensively. I'm very excited to see how it plays out through district play. I think he could be a guy that could make big time plays against the Summer Creeks and the North Shores of the world, and you could see some shocking things from the Atascosa team as far as in district play. Another guy I look at, Micah Rhodes, freshman running back at Klein Oak, is going off the past 2 weeks. This week his stat line, 31 carries, 241 yards, and a touchdown for a freshman running back. They beat Cy Falls 24-21. Obviously, ground and pound type of game against a good Cy Falls defense. This is a defense that's got a Baylor commit, Caleb Burns, on it. It's also got a 2027 recruit who's starting to pick up offers. This is a solid team, and as a freshman, he comes in there, 31 carries, 241 yards. He's doing great things for Coach Carpenter and that Klein Oak offense. Really like what he's doing through the first 2 weeks of the season. I also look at the name everybody needs to put on their maps, Toby Hostrup from Maid Creek. Just started playing football 3 months ago. He's a big story right now in the Houston area. In week 1, he had 7 tackles and 5 sacks in his first ever game of Texas high school football. He's a senior. Since then, he's picked up about 15 to 18 offers in that 48-hour time window. Freak kind of athlete, 6'4", 230, runs a 10-7, 100 meter. When we got to talk to him. Story coming out later this week. He moved over from London when he was about 10 years old. The only sports he really played was soccer and track, and then a coach approached him this year and got him to come play football. So this is another storyline, another kid that has really been breaking out this year, and I'm really excited to see what he does once district play starts. And then lastly, Landon Williams-Callis from Randall. It was the Landon Williams-Callis show last week against Elsick. He had 16 carries, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, the sophomore running back has already been on a tear in the first 2 weeks of the season. He's their bell cow there at Randall. I think that, when we look down the road at this Randall team, once playoffs get here, once the end of district gets here, he is going to be one of the, if not the best running back in Texas, in Houston. He's just putting together a great year. So those are the guys that have really stood out in the first 2 weeks of the season.
We're talking a lot about running backs. I mean, are we going back in time in our time machine? Like, are we running the ball every play? Carlisle was good. Austin Carlisle was good at Ridgepoint. He was just cruising right along. He's super fast. I didn't realize how fast he was. He threw a couple of interceptions. One really wasn't his fault, but I like him at quarterback. Woodlands quarterback Jack Dalton. I know you saw him this week. He's kind of a guy that's getting some momentum.
Yeah, Jack Dalton, junior quarterback, first year playing there since, the Woodlands has had. They had Mabry Tower, who's now at Wisconsin. Now Jack Dalton kind of takes over that team. He's really had 2 really solid weeks of play, has 9 total touchdowns on the year. I believe he has 3 rushing touchdowns, 6 passing touchdowns, probably over 600 yards of total offense. I mean, he's had a really solid showing in the first 2 weeks. He's a guy at 6'2", 185, 190 that can really push the ball down the field. He's got a big arm, and he's also got a 4.5 laser 40, really fast once he takes that read and decides to tuck it and run. He's definitely the player to watch on this Woodlands team. He's got a lot of playmakers to go get the ball to, and Shane Walker, Tulsa commit, Jackson Bolander, but he's the guy who gets that offense going, and I'm really excited to see what he does with district play this week against Grand Oaks, which I'm sure we'll be talking about here in a second. Jack Dalton is definitely a kid that I believe will start picking up offers and continue to have a big junior season.
So we still like in 6A, North Shore, Bridgeland, Summer, Fulshere's moved up. They're really good. What other teams? Here's what I think, and I know you're going to say Willis because he loves him some Willis Wildcats. But they're not sleeper anymore, but they're playing well. What other teams do you really like? Hightower, I'm not totally sure yet on Hightower. I just don't know how much they have on offense. Any other teams out there that we like that are on the come up in 6A that could surprise some people?
I mean, you brought up Willis. I would say Willis, even though they're in our top 10 of the rankings. A lot of that last year was because a lot of that this year, why we had them so high was because of how they did last year. But now there's no DJ Lagway. But that doesn't change this offense and what this team does. Jermaine Bishop has been on a tear. He's been one of the highlight players in the state of Texas this past week. You look at the things that they're able to do offensively, they're able to put up the points, and then defensively they returned a lot. They're able to hold a lot of teams. They held the Klein Collins team to I believe 7 or 9 points this past week. Like that's Klein Collins team that I believe won district last year. So
yeah, they're a superpower.
I really like this Willis team. I really like Katy Jordan. Katy Jordan has scored, I believe, around 80 points and has given up no points so far in the first 2 weeks of the season. Andrew Marsh has had a big year. Chad Gasper, running back, Florida commit. He's another guy that's producing very well. This Katy Jordan team just has a ton of athletes. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Jimmy Friscos. He's a stud on the defensive line. He's able to wreak havoc. So you look at this Katy Jordan team. I think they're a team. Last year I picked them to win that district and beat Katy. They were battling the injury bug, weren't able to do it. This year could be the year that they could do it. It'll be their 3rd year in this district. They made the playoffs for the first time ever last year. I think that this year they've got the team to compete in that district, but also win this district. So Katy Jordan is another team I really like right now.
Klein Kane, don't tell anybody. Klein Kane, they're good. They were good last year. I thought they were better last year, but this year they're kind of sleepy good. I'm kind of excited to see them. Tomball, not mad at Tomball. They're doing pretty well as well. Nimitz, another team that nobody really talks about. They're 2-0, but they are really building as a program under Cornelius Harmon. 5A, there's not that many 5A teams, honestly. We love what Randall's doing. Of course, we love what Iowa Colony. Holy cow. Nobody knows. When you say Iowa Colony, you're like, who is that? They're really good. The Pioneers have some of the greatest young talent in the city of Houston. It's basically Manville turned into Iowa Colony. So they're good. Ball, I was not sold on Ball early. They won big. They beat Texas City this week, blanked them 27-0. Texas City was in our top 5, so now they moved down. But 5A is kind of not going to move a lot, I don't think. I just think there's going to be a lot of consistency in that top 10, just because there's not that many teams. In the world of private school, we love anybody in the private school ranks.
Concordia Lutheran is having a good year so far. Tanner Huckfeld, quarterback there, he's been on a hot tear the first 2 weeks. Second Baptist got a big win against Fort Worth Christian this past week. Cannon Toon, the quarterback there, threw for 3 passes, rushed for 3 touchdowns as well. He's starting to really put it together in the first 2 weeks of the season. Really excited to see what he does once they get into district play.
St. John's School, they got a running back over there that can ball.
St. John's School, Cole Allen has been a beast so far in the first 2 weeks of the year. They beat St. Thomas Catholic, a TAP school, in week 1, beat them pretty handedly. So St. John's School is definitely another school that I would look at to have a big year in SPC, because Episcopal, we love Episcopal, but they are down a little bit this year. Obviously you lose Carson Gordon. That's going to affect you a little bit at the quarterback position, but they're still doing good things, coming off a tough loss to Parish Episcopal last week. I expect them to bounce back this week. But St. John's School, SPC better watch out, because St. John's School is coming. They've got a lot of firepower. I'm excited to see what they do.
Who would have thought the smartest school in the city of Houston? All right, run down me 5 quick games. Give me the best games.
You got Bridgeland, Ridgepoint. I think that's going to be an exciting one.
Easily number 1.
Ridgepoint's coming off a tough loss, a close loss against Fulshire, and then Bridgeland beats Tompkins last week. So I'm very excited to see this game, see how both offensive fronts are able to protect their quarterbacks and also dominate the run game. I think that's going to be important at that one. You look at this Port Arthur Memorial coming to Houston. They're going to play Fort Bend Hightower. This is an exciting matchup, I think. Port Arthur Memorial 5A, they have a ton of studs all over the field, a bunch of D1 athletes. And then you look at Hightower. They've been winning some close games, not very high-scoring games. This week, though, I think they're going to have to put up some more points than they have in the past 2 weeks. This Port Arthur Memorial offense is going to be able to score points, so I'm excited to watch that one, see how that plays out. We look at Cy-Fair versus Dickinson. Kind of intriguing matchup. Both took tough week 1 losses, both bounced back with a win. Let's see how both of these teams match up this week. I'm excited to see this offensive line of Dickinson and Tyler Thomas, A&M commit, go up against Landon Rink and the Cy-Fair defensive line. That'll be a key matchup, I think, in this game. And then another big one. I think this is the biggest game probably in the state this week. Westlake and Atascocita playing in Austin at Westlake. Atascocita will be heading there. This is a big game.
Big game.
2-0 versus 2-0. Westlake's obviously a state brand out of the Austin area. And then Atascocita has been consistently ranked top in the state the past few years. Can they get over the hump? Can they beat a team like Westlake? That'll help prepare them for district play. I expect Carday Mack and Tori Blaylock to be heavily involved, heavily leaned upon in this game to score lots of points, because this Westlake offense is going to be able to score a lot this week. And then I look at this Woodlands Grand Oaks. Exciting game. 2-0, 2-0. 2 junior quarterbacks facing off. Yep. Grant Smith, national recruit. Jack Dalton, who we just talked about, has started to have a big year so far. Can Grand Oaks kind of get over the hump? They haven't really been able to make the playoffs yet. Sean McDowell's got things rolling over there. I expect this to be maybe a closer game than people think, but it'll show us what both of these teams have as district play opens up.
That's a big hump. Big hump. But I think Grand Oaks is getting there. I think you think they're a playoff team. I think they're fringy, but I think they got a shot. Back to this Westlake situation. Westlake could win the state championship there this year. They're that good. They would face North Shore in the state semis. But what's interesting is North Shore is going to get some good tape on them playing their district mate Atascocita. So we'll see, what happens. Maybe Atascocita knocks them off. Maybe they find the secret potion to beat Westlake. But Westlake is for real. Okay, well, hey, I think we were amazing today in 20 minutes. We did the greatest 20 minutes in the history of high school sports in the city of Houston. Thank you very much. Bradley Collier, Alex Henson on the mic. This is Matt with VYPE, along with Jackson Dipasquale. Follow us, Like us, share us on YouTube, as well as all of our social media channels across the state, be it VYPE, Texas, Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio. For sure, Houston, because this is the Houston podcast. This is Matt and Jackson. We'll see y'all at the games.